Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the Update Danger Zone dev server, and we're having a look at the VBC PT2. This is a live vehicle which is coming to the higher ranks of the Italian tech tree in Update Danger Zone, and this thing's absolutely massive. We had kind of a addition to the light tank area a few updates ago in the form of the ZLT11, which was massive, and then we had the Puma, which is also massive, and the VBC also continues that trend of just massive light scout vehicles. It is based off a Centauro chassis, but you can see that it's got a lot of modifications on it, and also it gets access to a very similar turret to the Dado. Lacks the 80 gems though, unfortunately, so only is armed with the 25mm Oerlikon KBA B02. But the thing is, when it comes to the general guns like this, the 25mm, what you'll find is a lot of vehicles use this very effectively at many different BRs, especially if they're good at flanking. Usually, stuff like the Type 87 RCV gets brought up when you look at guns of this caliber. Very high fire rate and also access to APF-SDS, but you've also got to understand that vehicle is a lot smaller than this one. So I think it's going to be a lot easier to spot this thing across the way. One thing that does help with having big vehicles though is what I call the Class 3P syndrome, where the Class 3P has a lot of spaced armor on it, and also at the same time it has a lot of space actually in it. So if you're firing APF-SDS, which is the meta round of these BRs, what ends up happening is the round will just go straight through parts of the vehicle and not do any damage to it. We saw this kind of with the Puma. When the Puma was added to the game, not many people knew how to shoot it, but now people have figured it out. The same thing will probably happen with the VBC, and because of the fact that the Italian tech tree is played less than the German tech tree, you'll probably see less of these, so it'll take people longer to work out where to shoot them. And there isn't really a great place to shoot this thing. If you're on this angle, obviously you can kill two crew with its 3-man crew. If you're from this angle, I'm guessing you try and pop the turret or pop the ammunition. That's probably the best idea. But you can see even through the front, there's a bunch of space in this vehicle where you shoot, and you do pretty much no damage to it. With that crew of 3, you have a commander who can fire the main gun, you have the gunner, and also the driver in the front. You have an engine, 520 horsepower, which will motor around this thing, which is 25 tons, showing that it can go 110 kilometers an hour forward and 40 backwards. So you're going to have no issues with acceleration in this thing, and I'd hope not, because otherwise it wouldn't be a very good vehicle for 8.7. It does have huge wheels, but still will struggle on rough terrain. That's usually how these vehicles work, and also at the same time, wouldn't have the best maneuverability just around the place anyway. Tracks are normally preferred, but wheels can be better in some scenarios. Its armor is pretty much non-existent. You're talking about 20mm here, 25 there. You know, nothing too crazy, with the sides being 15mm, so even against other autocannons or 50 cals, this thing will die. So you got to be super careful of that. It does actually have 2 MG42s though, one in the coaxial mount and one in the top mount, so at least it'll be able to deal with some aircraft in the form of helicopters that try and rush, and also it has some smoke grenades, so repositioning will be nice for the vehicle, and it means that you'll be able to go around the place in a good click. At the same time, on top of the APF-SDS that this gets access to, it also gets an APDS belt, so that'll help you through the grind. Also gets scouting, so you can use that very effectively, and the LWSLR, which is a really nice staple of a lot of high-tier Italian vehicles. I really personally enjoy the LWSLR. I think it works incredibly well, and means that you can be more aware of your surroundings when fighting different vehicles. The elevation mechanism is already pretty good on this thing, especially with the stabilizer, and at the same time as all of this, it is just going to be a highly mobile vehicle, so being able to flank, being able to use the APF-SDS should be pretty good on it. I'm hoping that this thing doesn't get overpressured. I don't think it should get overpressured, so that won't be too much of an issue for it. And the 9.2 second reload's a little bit annoying on it, but if you play this thing correctly, then you should be in and out of action pretty quickly, so you'll be able to give yourself time to reload as well. Gun depression is 10 degrees, which is good for a tall vehicle. It means that you'll be able to hit people even if they're right next to you. And also, At the same time, the turret armor can be a little bit trolley, especially since it's very similar to the Dado one. I bounced a lot of rounds off the Dado that I feel like I should never have, and the VBC will probably be the same. In the tech tree as well, it's in quite a nice place, so it's not at the end of the line, it's actually before the Dado and after the M113A1 tow. This means that it won't get end of the line modification costs, which could have been a bit of a death sentence to a vehicle like this. But then again, you know, there is already a bunch of really cool light tanks for Italy. Italy really has become kind of the light tank nation, with this whole line here all being light tanks, and then also 3 light tanks here as well. So you have light tanks which you can play through the place, get your dailies, get your specials done, get certain challenges done, and just have a great time with it overall. So for me, I'm pretty happy with that for the VBC in general. It does also get some pretty cool customizations. So you got the standard camo, which is kind of drab, but you also get the desert camo, the tricolor, which is the good one, and then the winter camo. So there's plenty of options for this vehicle that people can use with it. And in terms of lineups, 8.7 is not too bad. The OF40 Mark IIA is a fantastic vehicle. The Centauro 105 is also a fantastic vehicle. And since this thing has thermals, you could probably up tier it to 9.0 and use it as an effective scout machine with access to the OF40 MTCA or the Leopard 1A5. You also probably won't run it at 9.3 though, because obviously the Dado exists. The VBC does give a different playstyle to the VCC 8060 and also the Centauro 1105, but you could run it with it as well. I wouldn't take it any higher than that, because, you know, the gun at that point has pretty diminishing returns as a gun in general. So it's not a bad vehicle. I think it's actually going to be pretty good. It's just going to have a super unique playstyle. And as we've found with a lot of these light vehicles, there have been many people who've been able to make these playstyles work effectively. They've been able to do a ton of damage to things, you know, whether it be aircraft, whether it be you know, general lighter vehicles or the side of a bunch of MBTs. You can pen them with this gun, and even on grass you can see how mobile this thing is. You can move around the place and have a pretty decent time with it. But at the same time, with the Puma, with the Type 87, with even the Baguette being a light tank, with a bunch of the light tanks in general just have a really good time, and I don't think this one's going to be any different. Obviously, if you run into certain MBTs from the front, you're not going to be able to do too much against them. You're going to have to aim for weak spots, so you're going to have to actually aim in other ways, like you're going to have to try and get around the side of them. But the thing is, this has scouting, so what you can do is, let's say, oh, you know, there's a guy over there that you can't deal with. They might want to fix that bino view. Let's say there's this guy, oh, you know, can't really pen him. Well, that doesn't matter, just scout him and get away, you know, and let somebody else try and deal with him. You know, smoke up and then go, which is something you can do with a lot of these vehicles. The Italian tech tree is one of those which I actually enjoy quite a lot. It has a lot of unique experiences in it nowadays, and this one is a Frankenstein of 2 separate ideas that is super fun in the Italian tech tree. So all I can say is this will be super fun. I'm personally looking forward to it, and I really like playing the Italian light tanks. I hope they keep adding these things and keep adding more and more so we can have a bit of fun with them. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Merciless Reaper, Jerry Provolt, Mega Dino King, Professor X1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Moxie, B. Young, and Derek R., Barine, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.